All right, we'd like to welcome everyone to our special city council meeting tonight where we're certifying the election of the primary election. So this is kind of an opportunity for us to look at the results of the primaries, see who the top four were, and then we'll certify those elections. As it's been stated, as you notice, it's been a while since we had our election. This is because of the mail-in ballots. It takes longer to get them counted. It's not like the elections where you used to go to the polls and vote, and that night you would know who the winners were. So one bad thing about that is we don't know exactly who the winners are on the night of the election. We have to wait a few weeks to get all the ballots that were mailed out and mailed in to us to come back. So some people like the old way, some people like the new way. Personally, I like the old way because I like to know who got elected. And but we get a bigger turnout as we come this way. But so it can be debated either way. So anyway, so let's proceed. Tara's going to give us a little presentation, and we'll turn it over to you.
Perfect. Thanks for having me. I just want to say that I've heard from multiple people that they were so impressed by the candidates this year. This how well they worked together, how they really put the city first and wanted the best person to win. And I'm sure they wanted to win as well. But they were really kind to each other and bolstered each other up. I think multiple times I heard when I would hear them speak that they would say any one of us would be good for Spanish Fork. And so I just wanted to pass that on. I've heard that from multiple people. I hope you have too. So first off, we're here to certify and approve the elections. And so up here on the screen, we have the vote tally that Utah County has sent to us. And as you can see, we have the four top vote getters, and those are the people who will move on to the general election and have been elected from the primary election. We had 5,150 votes come in, and then sadly we have 21,181 registered to vote. So you can see that we had 24.31% who actually voted, which is a good number, I understand. So we're happy that people took it serious and came out to vote. So the next thing that we need to look at is the different precincts. And this is a really good graph that the county sends out. First, it just shows you by color each candidate, and you can see that they've won that precinct. So that color, you can see Kevin Euler has a lot of that light purple. He's won those precincts. And then, of course, Shane Marshall has won the gray. And you can see where Stephen Carlson, that little triangle of pink, and then kind of that middle purple for Brett Bills, and then the dark purple for Mike Clayson. So that just kind of gives you an idea. So we're going to go to the actual part where it will show us the different precincts, and it just will show it to you in a different way.
Mayor, before we do that, I just want to highlight something for the viewing audience. You don't get to do this all the time, but if anybody notices the number of ballots cast, I'm interested, besides Vaughn, and anybody that can give me some relative information to what that number of votes or number of ballots cast is. Anybody besides Vaughn?
What do you mean?
The number of ballots cast. Up there, that actual number. Anybody have any significance to that number? Anybody have?
5,150?
Yeah. Anybody?
Yeah, 5150.
5150. It's not every day.
For a trick question.
I was too.
It's not every day that you get Van Halen up on the ballots cast number. That's kind of fun.
We know Vaughn's favorite name.
There we go. Way to go, Vaughn. Thanks for that.
Van Halen.
Duly.
Sorry, Tara. I'll go back.
Perfect. Okay, so you see this little box in yellow? That's the number between Landon Took and Brett Bills. Brett is the fourth candidate, and Landon came in fifth. So if that number had been under 24 votes, then he could ask for a recount. Since that number is 168, we're not going to have a recount. So also in the blue, you can see the precinct that each candidate won. And as it scrolls over, and this is just fun information that you can look at down below to see how many of the precinct voted. It probably would be good for the candidates if they're ever going to run again to see what precincts are willing to get out and vote. And maybe it depends on the candidate, who knows. So it's just kind of a lot of good information. And then the next slide that I'm going to show you is going to show you the ballots that were rejected and why they were rejected. Right here. So obviously it says active registered voters. There's 21,181. But look how many mail-in ballots were sent. 21,558. That's more than the registered voters. That would be people who maybe moved, maybe they lost their ballot and they had to send them another one. So that's why that number is higher than the registered voters. So it's not concerning, it's just they sent out more ballots because some people lost them or they moved or whatever it would be. They didn't get their ballot. So as you can see, we have the 24.31% turnout. There were 76 ballots that were not counted. And you can see there, it tells you the return to unsigned were 27. And then the signatures did not match the voter record was 13. Now the county will try to find those voters and rectify that ballot. If they cannot by the time frame, then those ballots will go uncounted. So then it looks like we had 36 who returned it past the deadline. It didn't have the postmark of the due date, so they weren't able to be counted as well. And it looks like we only had 20 people who voted in person, either early voting or on election day. I guess that shows that the mail-in ballot is working, and we don't need to have lots of polling places for people to vote on the day of the election. Do you have any questions on that?
So the county has done their due diligence to track down those 76, and they're done doing that at this point.
Yes, yes. So they have a canvassing period. During that canvassing period, they will contact them in many different ways, and if they don't respond, then there's nothing the county can do, and at that point, they are not counted. So that's probably a good thing for voters to remember, that make sure your signature looks the same as it does when you signed your card, and make sure that you've signed it, that you double check that you've actually signed that ballot.
Unfortunately, this happens in every election, whether it's a mail-in or not. In our old method, when we had a piece of paper and you had a pencil, sometimes in this election, for example, you could choose two. So maybe somebody would mark three. And if they mark three, then we couldn't count that ballot because we don't know which two. So you always have some that are unable to be counted. You remember back into the 2000 election with the hanging chads and the dimples and stuff, some things like that. But it's great to see that low of a number that they worked through.
For sure. All right, so you guys are the official board of canvassers. That means you need to approve these numbers and approve who is going on. Obviously, Kevin Euler, Shane Marshall, Mike Clayson, and Brett Bills will move on to the general election. So tonight, we have a resolution before you where you can certify those votes, and we'll have you sign. Every one of you will sign that certification that I turn into the lieutenant governor. Is there any questions for me?
Does anybody have any questions, comments?
It's our first go at this, Kent. How's our new recorder doing? You've seen a few of these. She's done great, huh? Yeah. Good job there.
Thank you.
Just, once again, I want to thank all the candidates. Even though you're not going on, thank you for putting your hat in the ring and going through that. I know it's not cheap to run and do that stuff, and I'm still excited that we had 10 people that wanted to serve this community and 10 good people. We heard that comment. I've heard that more than once, that the caliber of these candidates were pretty, and we knew that from when we had to select one, that every one of them were good candidates, and thank you, each one of you, for throwing your hat in the ring. It's not easy to do that. Thanks.
Mayor, maybe one comment on the timing, as you mentioned, vote by mail is difficult because we have to wait for those ballots to come in, and but we will work with the county and push the county to be a little bit more quick in getting those votes back. I think it was painful for some of our candidates.
I think the painful part was, it's coming today, it doesn't show up. It's
Exactly.
coming tomorrow, it doesn't show up. I think if there was a
Yeah.
schedule and they met it, I
Exactly.
don't think anyone would have a problem.
Yeah.
It wasn't that long, really. I mean, there was a big chunk of these that night. By
Right.
11,
Yeah.
I mean, it's what, 80% of the vote was counted by 11 or
So there's two things that we need to work on with the county and have fixed. I think one is that you set a schedule and hit it. Set the schedule, and in my opinion, it doesn't matter what, just hit it.
If it's an
Ev-
extra day,
Even if
fine.
it's, well, no, just hit it. Put out
Yeah.
the results, and if the results are zero, we gave you the update and there was no change. But put out a result so that we aren't wondering. And then second, communicate some of the details. So if we would have known, for example, that 80% of the ballots were cast or counted, I should say, or, how many are left? Sometimes we struggle to get how many ballots are left, how many ballots are left. And of course, we don't know all of that because we don't know ballots that haven't come in yet. They might get them in the mail.
Sure.
But to give us some idea, it was a little bit difficult. So Tara, and maybe pausing my comments for a second, Tara did a fantastic job in this election, working with the county. She was wonderful at really dogging the issues, making sure that we got as much information as we could, and when we were lacking information, pushing for something. So really, hats off to Tara for that work. But between now and the general election, there will be, I think, a handful of discussions that Tara and other city recorders will have with the county to make sure that we can shore up some of these hiccups, because it doesn't need to be this hard. There weren't as many ballots to count, right, as a presidential election, so this shouldn't, they can do.
Right, and there'll be more with the general election,
We hope, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we
So-
typically see, I think, about twice our typical turnout, so
Right.
we were
But
around
there'll be-
10%.
There'll also be more cities, or I guess not everyone had a primary.
Correct.
And so that's why it's important that we communicate with the county to say, give us set dates and release what you've got on those dates. So, instead of say, well, we haven't got everything, so we're gonna wait, that'd be helpful information to give back to them.
Yeah. And maybe a message to the voters, if they turn those ballots in the drop boxes, even the day before the election, it's almost surely counted by the election night in one of those drops that they do of the ballots. They do count them quickly, and so I think if you even drop it by a certain time on election day, that'll be counted that night. So voting earlier in the day or maybe the day before, it is helpful to get those results a little faster.
All right. And I want to reiterate what Councilman Argal said, is thank you for everyone that participated in the election. Those that are moving on and those that didn't. It's not the funnest thing in the world to put your name out there and to run and sit and wait and have those ballots counted, but we appreciate that. We've got a lot of good things happening here in Spanish Fork, and we appreciate the good caliber of people that we have that are on our city council and that run and are part of this city.
Mayor, there's a voter packet online that people can see of all the candidates that filled out, and part of that's a code of ethics in the state of Utah that people aren't obliged to agree to, but I think everybody agrees to that runs a campaign. So if you're interested, you can see online what that is, but I'm impressed too that all these candidates follow that code of ethics of, hey, these are my, is my plan, is my stance, and just talking about your vision, your future, rather than maybe, getting into the side of politics that really turns people off. And so
Exactly.
look forward to that happening in the general election too, but it definitely happened in the primary, so.
Good. Any other comments? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve Resolution 2119, certifying the canvass of the 2021 Spanish Fork City Municipal Primary Election.
Second?
Got a motion by Councilman Argal, a second by Councilmember Beck. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Anything else?
I move we adjourn.
Got a motion by Councilman Gordon,
Second.
a second by Councilman Argal. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you for watching this long meeting today.
Or attending in person.